Welcome to the first episode in a two-part Legendarium series about Vitellius, Rome's forgotten evil emperor. In part 1, we will talk about how Vitellius rose to seize the imperial purple. Rome's bad emperors have seared their names and crimes into the popular imagination, whether it is Caligula declaring himself a god, Nero murdering his mother, or Commodus fighting in the arena. Yet there is one nefarious emperor who is not nearly as infamous, Aulus Vitellius. He was born, unfortunately, during the year 15 AD. His father, Lucius Vitellius, served as censor on 3 separate occasions, and his mother Sextilia came from an ancient aristocratic family. However, misfortune does not spare even the greatest families. Emperor Tiberius accused Lucius Vitellius of treason, and Lucius died before he could face trial. Despite the accusations of treason, the elder Vitellius received a public funeral and a statue at his hometown of Roscia built in his honor. Now fatherless, Aulus Vitellius spent most of his youth on the Isle of Capri with Emperor Tiberius. There, if tale-tellers are to be believed, Vitellius joined in drinking binges, orgies, and throwing troublesome slaves off the cliff. Later on, Vitellius won the favor of 3 different emperors with his various skills. Caligula favored Vitellius because of his skill in chariot racing. Indeed, Vitellius suffered a damaged thigh from being run over by Caligula's chariot. Emperor Claudius admired his dice playing, and lastly, Nero appreciated both of his talents in gambling and chariot racing. At many public events, Vitellius often persuaded Nero to sing and play the lute before willing or unwilling audiences. Not that Nero needed much encouragement. By such skillful flattery, Vitellius rose fast through the public offices. Vitellius became consul at the age of 33 and later proconsul of Africa around the age of 46. Throughout his public career, Vitellius became infamous for 2 vices, his degenerate gambling and being the most accomplished glutton in the Roman Empire. His dishes included roasted ostrich, flamingo tongues, wild sow's udders, stuffed snails, Indian sugarcane, and, of course, vast amounts of wine. Both vices would play an important role in his life. Vitellius married twice in his life. Firstly to Petroniana, with whom he had 1 son, who later died mysteriously, possibly on Vitellius's orders, so he could inherit his son's fortune by his grandmother. Secondly, Vitellius married Galeria Fundana, with whom he had 1 son and 1 daughter. Vitellius often hosted one-man banquets, eating finery like baked honey-smeared nightingales. During the year 68 AD, an army mutiny broke out in Gaul, followed by a more serious challenge to Nero's power from Servius Sulpicius Galba, the governor of Spain. The Senate turned against Nero, who fled to a country estate and killed himself at the age of 30. The Senate then declared the rebellious Galba their new emperor. Emperor Galba, upon arriving in Rome, faced many challenges, including the angry German legions not far from the city. Despite the fat-bellied degenerate having no military experience, Galba sent Vitellius to the Rhine River to become governor and thus commander of the German legions. Galba believed that Vitellius's vices would ensure that he turned his efforts towards eating, not gaining power. The armies of Lower Germany, however, had a different view of their new governor-general. They welcomed him, for they had little affection for Galba, since he failed to reward them for helping to suppress the Nero loyalist Julius Vindex. Showing himself cannier than Galba imagined, Vitellius showed great generosity to his troops, winning them over with pay raises and forgiving old debts. At first, Otho assumed that Vitellius would do nothing, but instead, Vitellius sent half his army into Roman Italy. Since Vitellius himself had no knowledge of warfare, his generals Caecina and Valens led his legions for him. The supported Galba soon became angry with him. The money that Galba gathered from tributes and land seizures stayed in the royal treasury to pay off Nero's debts instead of being doled out to those who raised him to the imperial purple. As Vitellius's armies marched, the Praetorian Guard, the imperial bodyguard, grew weary of Galba's tight-fistedness and then retired him from politics and life. They replaced him with one of their own commanders named Otho, who hoped that Vitellius would cancel his invasion with his enemy Galba out of the imperial purple. Despite appeals from Otho, the two armies met at the First Battle of Bedriacum on April 16, 69 AD. Otho expected reinforcements from the Danube legions. However, Caecina and Valens built a bridge across the river, scattered Otho's army, and Otho, in a strikingly noble gesture, committed suicide to avoid further civil war. Although not present at the battle which won him an empire, Vitellius became the new emperor. The armies of Upper Germany, as well as most of the governors of Spain, Gaul, and Britain, soon gave Vitellius their support. He took weeks on his journey to Rome, stopping whenever he could to gorge himself at banquets. Among other things, Vitellius devoured parrots, venison, pheasant, thrush, rabbit, goose liver, and brain-stuffed sausages. When he visited the battlefield that won him an empire, still littered with the corpses of his countrymen, the cold-hearted Vitellius said, "The scent of death of a fellow Roman is sweet." In Part 2, we will learn if somebody else might think that Vitellius's fat corpse would smell sweet as well. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.